I'm not exactly sure how I feel about Arknights Endfield. It's really a game that's not going to be for everyone. It's like a very niche game and it really doesn't lack quality. Like it feels really good. It looks really nice. The optimization is great, but it feels like in terms of gameplay and mechanics, it spreads itself thin in a lot of different directions. There's like so many different gameplay loops and mechanics, and the tutorials are intense. Like this game has a lot of tutorial and it's a real slow burn, but it can be rewarding once you actually learn how everything works. One of the issues I had though is combat. When it comes to JRPGs, that's kind of why I gravitate towards them, and combat is not this game's strong suit or a focal point. The best way I could put it is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You really have to find yourself enjoying majority of these different gameplay loops all at the same time if you're gonna like the experience, because sometimes it feels like certain parts of the game are a chore when you just want to get to another aspect of the game. You might find the base building annoying and want to get to the combat, or you might find the combat annoying and just want to get to rolling on banners. So I would say that's its greatest strength and its greatest weakness. Overall, all this stuff creates an experience that most other games can't offer, and in that way it stands out. But at the same time, it kind of alienates people with so many different gameplay loops. It's almost exhausting, overwhelming, and overall people are just impatient and don't want to deal with all this. So for somebody more open-minded, I could definitely see how they could fall in love with this game. It makes a strong first impression aesthetic wise. I love the UI. I get strong Death Stranding, Nier Automata, Metal Gear Solid vibes. But if it comes to actual story and plot, well, we'll get to that. But overall, I find the vibes really great. You get this really desolate, hollow, dramatic feeling while playing this game based on the environment and the OST, but it's very fitting and immersive. I really like it. Stands out. Some people might be turned off by how hollow and lifeless things feel, but I feel like it makes sense based on the lore and the plot of this game. But getting into that, how that story is told is very typical of your average gacha game. From what I understood, in between skipping cutscenes, we're basically part of a space organization that recolonizes planets and turns them into living settlements. The concept of that is really cool and interesting. The lore and the plot seems like something I'd like to know more about, but the actual story, introduction to characters, plot setting, falls very short for me. It was extremely typical, the most gacha story I had ever seen, especially on launch. It was almost like Wuthering Waves 1.1 levels of mid, for lack of a better word. It was just an extreme yap fest, where most of the story was explained to me rather than experienced. Characters are very familiar. You have OP main protagonist with dementia, waifus that worship the ground you walk on, and your typical Ambers, Deluxe. If you've played a gacha before, you've seen these character tropes. The writing felt very shonen-esque and very clearly tailored to a younger audience. I am 100% sure I'm not the target demographic, so just felt a bit redundant for me personally. Hopefully the story finds itself with further patches or gets better as I play along. In terms of combat, the most fun I get out of the combat is the actual team building, honestly. Building different synergies so teammates take advantage and chain their combos and attacks together creates a flow that optimizes different styles of playing, whether it be elemental inflictions like heat, cryo, lightning, stuff like that. There's also stagger and crush, which is physical. Then you got like lift, which like lifts people in the air. There's all these different debuffs and buffs to work around. The dodge and the movement kind of gave me PSD of playing Genshin Impact in my earlier days, but it also felt a bit more fast-paced, and using skills to interrupt attacks kind of reminded me of Wuthering Waves. So yeah, forming a team is pretty much the strong suit of combat, and that's all I can really give it, because the actual execution feels almost button mashy and kind of brain dead at times. It's very straightforward. The moment-to-moment gameplay, it's kind of mediocre for me personally, and yeah, it just starts to feel a bit brain dead. I might be a bit biased. I'm much more into the action when it comes to JRPGs, but if you're more of a turn-based player, I think you won't mind it. This is how I see it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. If you're somebody that's more into the Wuthering Waves, the Zenless Zone Zeros, the Punishing Gray Ravens, Honkai Impact Thirds, or maybe even something like Devil May Cry, you might find the combat lacking. But if you like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, where team building is more important than, gameplay and execution, I think you won't mind it. It kind of reminds me of like a gacha-vibe version of like Final Fantasy Remake, I'd imagine. I didn't play too much of that game, only like the first couple hours, but I feel like that's what they were going for with this type of combat, if you understand what I mean. The gacha, wow, 7 minutes in and I haven't even talked about this. Okay, so the gacha is probably the worst part of the game for sure. It's purposely confusing, and don't let anybody tell you that it's not. The system feels like the most egregious gacha I've ever played in my history of playing these open world gacha games, and it almost feels like it's trying to trick its players out of their money, even by gacha player standards. Now, if you actually know what you're doing in this gacha system, when it comes down to it, it's more or less similar to something like a Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves, but that's only if you know exactly what you're doing, which majority of the people who touch this game, I'm talking about casuals who don't go on the internet as often, they won't know what's going on. So I just find this type of thing deplorable, especially for the launch of a game. Hey, here's how it goes, as quickly and bluntly as I can put it, and you guys can tell me if I don't understand it, which I probably don't, but that's not my fault. Anyway, there's a 50-50 system. You guaranteed get the character you want at 120 pulls. There's a soft pity at 65 pulls, and 80 is the hard pity to guarantee a 50-50. If you don't get the character you want, 40 more pulls to guarantee the character at 120. The worst part is though, pity does not carry over. When it comes to weapon pulls, you gain weapon pulls from pulling on the character banners. It takes 40 weapon banner pulls for a 50-50 and 80 to guarantee the weapons. So the two main issues are you need to pull on banner to get weapon pulls, and there's no pity carryover. You can obtain weapon banner pulls by doing weeklies, I've also heard. And that's all I currently know about the banner system. I will be doing a guide on it once I fully understand it, but for now, let me know in the comment sections exactly how it works. But anyway, two major red flags I have with Arknights Endfield gacha system is that in almost every open world gacha game in 2026, they are very competitive against each other. Like, it's a very competitive space for these types of games, so the monetization should reflect that. I mean, when Wuthering Waves first came on the scene, it was upselling Genshin by making it 10 less pulls to get a character, and the weapon banner was guaranteed. They were innovating, but Enfield feels like it's going in the other direction by making things purposely confusing and making things just as bad or not worse than its predecessors. And in 2026, I just think we're going backward. Also, for a new launch that's so successful with so many pre-registrations, it just feels incredibly stingy post-launch. And if this is how it feels at the beginning of the game, these types of games get only more and more predatory and restrictive over time when it comes to like things like meta and stuff like that. And all the time I've been playing gacha games, I've never seen one gacha avoid power creep eventually. So if it's this bad now, when it comes to the stinginess, I can only see it getting worse. Overall, this game doesn't feel like it's worth investing long term as a free to play. So I would just enjoy the honeymoon phase while it lasts. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm sticking with the game and I will give my full opinions then. But for now, my advice is to enjoy the fun while you can, and as soon as it starts to become a chore, I would dip. And if you do enjoy this game, I would get ready to spend a lot of money in the near future. That's all I really got to say about this game. Let me know how you feel. It is what it is. Peace.